stepping in as well.
Over the top. I mean, that was a full force shot to the temple. I mean, he's right now. So they wipe off his gloves, but you look at him like he's really feeling it right now. I mean, he probably has no idea where he is.
When I'm going to take your soul, and you're either going to give up or you're going to get knocked out. And unless you have that instinct, you just will never be a good fighter.
Likely that one big shot's going to land if the guy's not throwing other shots. So I thought with less artillery in the air, less bombs in the air, that the guy would have a chance to get to later on.
The outcome was sealed long before the final second ticked away, and it's brutal because this night didn't just drop Jake Paul, it shattered the entire fantasy built around crossover boxing. I'm telling you, things changed instantly, reputations bent, confidence splintered before the sweat even dried on the mat. So tear it back with me, sharply, because the path to this moment hits harder than the strike itself, especially when Joe Rogan sat cage-side grinning like he'd already watched it play out. And no, this doesn't add up unless you accept one thing. They all saw it coming. Every single person knew the second an Olympic gold medalist heavyweight walked in that this was never competition. It was a timer ticking down, and if that already gets under your skin, good, because there's a piece missing, something they are still holding back, and it's getting closer.
Well, realistically, it's one of the craziest propositions of all time. You take a guy who just had a boxing match that looks like a sparring match with a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, and then you're gonna fight one of the
I saw Rogan edge closer beside Joshua and flash that knowing grin like the story had already ended because he voiced what nobody wanted spoken, that real boxing ignores buzz and numbers and carefully built storylines. And when Jake crashed to the canvas, the shock wasn't the impact, it was the realization, that cold snap of truth locking into place, because Jake usually moves with faded MMA icons and long retired opponents, and suddenly he's facing a two-time heavyweight champion with explosive precision. And here's the part that should stay with you, because Rogan made it clear the outcome was never uncertain. And if that's real, then who allowed this to unfold? And why does it feel like someone needed the message broadcast?
It's not just physical, it's psychological. And when you understand the psychological warfare, I did say to you that, Jake, what's going to happen? I'm going to see a time when I'm going to take your soul, and you're either going to give up or you're going to get knocked out. And unless you have that instinct...
After the fight, Joshua didn't hedge or dial it down. And that's where everything turned volatile, because he made it clear the quick finish spared Jake from something worse, slower, or more brutal. And I don't think people caught what he meant, because he wasn't boasting, he was cautioning. He said if it kept going he would have dismantled Jake step by step, physically, mentally, emotionally. And pay attention, because this line is loaded. When a champion calls a swift ending mercy, it means he understood exactly how far it could have spiraled. And I keep asking who set this up, knowing that.
Because straight after the fight, I heard the question being posed to Joshua, will he now fight Fury? And then my first thought was, after what I've seen, who cares? After that, who cares if Joshua fights Fury? I like Anthony Joshua immensely, Spencer. Any exchanges I've had with him, I think he comes across terrifically well. But I fail to see where it's taken us, where it's taken him, other than hugely increasing his bank balance. You know, I really fail to see what this has done.
Well, it's done nothing, but he was going to fight in November, like I said, and he's just gone in there against Jake Paul. What has it done for his legacy? Absolutely zero. But it was, you know, he's earned a lot of money doing that, and he's going to go again. He's going to fight possibly February, March, and then there's that Tyson Fury fight that's looming that could happen in September, whether Tyson Fury decides to come out of retirement or not come out of retirement. For Anthony Joshua, he's earned a hell of a lot of money. This is prize fighting, and that's what it's all about. That's what he's done.
And then it snapped. The world split in a heartbeat like a broken jaw, because one side yelled cash grab and the other insisted maybe Jake's prepared, and it's driving me insane because both missed it entirely, because Joshua isn't a checkpoint, he's a barrier. Olympic gold, world titles, years of refined brutality, and Jake is still stacking legitimacy one layer at a time. So when that right hand tore through the moment and finished it, Simon Jordan labeled it a grim day, and you could feel it. Because when voices on air say the sport feels like a circus, it isn't anger, it's dread. And here's what nobody wants to say yet. Once you cross this line, you don't step back.
More than Joshua. That apart, Spencer, 6 rounds to get Paul out of there. Reputationally, how does it leave AJ?
Well, thankfully it didn't go to points, because I think that would have been a disaster for Anthony Joshua. I think that he needed to get the job done inside the distance, you know, and he done it. Look, he could have done it at any given point. I think that he could have cut the ring off whenever he wanted to and got Jake Paul out of there. He took his time on that. He allowed Jake Paul to run around like a rabbit and throw the occasional shot from time to time. And I think he only landed one clean punch, didn't he, Anthony Joshua? And that was the one that broke his jaw in 2 places.
But I mean, you said, did you not, to us in this very studio the other day, he's got to get him out of there in round 1.
I did.
Otherwise, what we see it.
Exactly that, you know, and I think what we saw there was a little bit of entertainment, and that was pretty much it. But not entertainment that many people enjoyed, if I'm honest. I think that
Simon Jordan kept talking later, and it turned hushed and sharper because he said these bouts smear the line between real competition and online spectacle and drain attention from fighters who paid for it the hard way. And if you think that's just bitter veteran noise, you're missing it, because he made it clear Joshua has already proven everything and doesn't need circus energy to remain in focus. And here's the second hook: because if a man who's already conquered it all is still getting dragged into this machine, then someone else is guiding it, and they're not finished yet. Not even close.
This is a giant Olympic gold medalist heavyweight. I mean, Anthony Joshua is fucking
He is the thing that
terrifying.
nightmares are made of.
And he's got that one-punch nuclear power.
I heard the legacy talk and it twisted my gut because people asked what this did for Joshua. And the answer was nothing except the heavier payout and a bigger question mark, because reputationally if this dragged to points it would have been a disaster and everyone knew it. So Joshua did what he had to do and finished it. But here's the unease creeping in, because when fights get packaged as spectacle instead of risk, you start forgetting what happens when risk actually arrives. And tonight risk arrived early and grinned.
Jake Paul shared a ring. Your takeaways from the 6 rounds that we saw, presuming you watched?
I was impressed with Jake Paul. I thought that, following on from what we're saying, right? A few years ago, he was on Disney as a kid, acting up, and has decided to become a professional fighter. That takes balls, but he's obviously striving to be as good as he can be. You can see that in the way that he moves, the way that he is developed in how he's punching and performing. But to make a 2-time world heavyweight champion that's still live, you know, AJ's still got something about him, to make him miss in such an accomplished manner. All right, so at times he was jumping out and running around, but there were times when he was well in range and still making AJ unable to land a clean, solid shot. He deserves a lot of respect for that. And then the shot that actually finished the fight, that broke his jaw quite badly, didn't put him out. That shot's put that shot he threw with serious intention has put a lot of professional heavyweights to sleep. He didn't go to sleep. He actually finished on his knees, didn't he? Laughing and spitting blood out of his mouth. So, like they say, like, it's a special type of crazy and a special type of brave to do it. But I actually, hats off to him, because he showed that he's developing some accomplished little skills in there to look after himself. The size difference is always going to fatigue him.
I know everyone will come with the idea that, well, AJ should just go in there 1 round and smash him to bits, and that should be it was a big ring, right? Perhaps he could have cut the ring off a bit better, but would I be right in saying that regardless of skill level, if you forget about that with the 2 for a second, if someone is on the back foot on their bike and kind of doing what Jake was doing, it's difficult no matter who you are, no matter the kind of separation in skill level.
It's a big ring, and you've either got to run at him and look like a novice yourself, or just take your time and understand.
I heard the legacy talk and it left a knot in my gut, because people kept asking what this meant for Joshua. And the answer was nothing except the bigger payday and a darker question mark, because reputationally if this stretched to points it would have been a catastrophe and everyone knew it. So Joshua did what he had to do and closed it. But here's the tension sliding in, because when fights get sold as spectacle instead of threat, you start forgetting what happens when real danger actually walks in. And tonight danger walked in early and smiled.
Would be more of a mismatch than Jake Paul. You know what I mean? Because at least Jake Paul has taken boxing, or has trained with real boxing trainers in real boxes. Whereas Logan Paul, you know, he did that exhibition with Floyd, and Floyd's a little guy. Not saying a little guy can't thump, because Floyd really gave him some 2 pieces with no sides, right? But at the same time, you take his friend, Floyd's friend, Anthony Joshua, and get hit by him and see what happens. The same thing. Probably worse, because I think Logan, you know, he's a little taller than Jake. And because he's a little taller than Jake, he may think he's a little stronger than Jake. Which, I don't know which one's true or not. I don't think it makes a difference. But because he may feel that way, he may want to go in there and try to bang it out with AJ. And if that happens, it's going to be a lot quicker. See, that 6 rounds it took AJ to finally catch Jake. It took that way because Jake was on that bicycle, moving, being elusive, trying to come in and then come out. He tried to do a very poor man's Alexander Usyk, right? And it didn't work for him. Logan ain't gonna do that. Logan's gonna come in throwing punches and bunches like he did with Floyd, trying to get him in there and, you know, do all this stuff. And what's gonna happen as soon as AJ lines him up, sets his punch, he's gonna hit Jake and he's gonna break Jake down.
Then Adam Booth stepped in, and this is where it shifted because he actually gave Jake credit. And I didn't see that coming because he said Jake slipped Joshua at moments and showed real ring awareness. And that should feel encouraging, but it doesn't because Booth instantly dragged it back to reality and said once Joshua adapted, it was finished. And that's the most unsettling part because progress didn't protect him and it won't protect the next opponent either. And tell me why this feels like a signal nobody's catching. The Logan Paul murmur started instantly and I laughed and then I stopped laughing because analysts crushed it fast saying it would be a spectacle for all the wrong reasons because Jake trains non-stop and still got clipped and Logan divides attention like it's casual. And here's teaser 4 because something about that exchange feels dangerous, like people attempting disaster to repeat itself because they said Logan wouldn't survive a round and instead of shutting it down, it fed it. And that's when you realize this is spiraling. They compared the brothers and it stung worse than the knockout because they admitted Jake actually committed to boxing and earned basic pro respect, and that's supposed to be the bright side. But listen to how hollow that sounds when stacked against a broken jaw and a laughing ringside voice, because even with respect there's a ceiling. And when analysts say Logan would turn boxing into a circus, they are not exaggerating, they are forecasting. And forecasts like that have a way of pulling fate closer. By the end, everyone tried to package it cleanly, and I refused because they said 2 narratives came out of this fight and both felt unfinished because either crossover boxing is damaging the sport or Jake deserves credit for stepping up. And I'm shouting because both can be true and still collapse badly because skill, experience, and real power always win, but the cost always lands somewhere else, and nobody's saying who pays it when the cameras go dark. I keep replaying that laugh, Rogan's laugh, because it wasn't cruel, it was tired, like watching gravity do what gravity always does. And that unsettles me more than outrage because resignation means expectation, and expectation means this wasn't random. And if this wasn't random, then there are meetings and contracts and nods we never see, and I don't like where that trail goes, not at all. You think this is done because the bell rang and the jaw cracked and the money moved, but no, this can't be the end because the language shifted afterward. The tone darkened, the way people talked about mercy and nightmares and inevitability, because when a sport starts speaking like that, it's bracing for impact. And I swear there's a name we haven't heard yet that's about to get pulled into this mess whether they want it or not. Everyone keeps asking what's next, like that's the safe question, but the real question is who benefits from pretending this was normal, because normal fights don't feel like warnings and normal knockouts don't sound like confessions. And I'm telling you right now, something is still moving behind the scenes. Someone's hiding the truth, and when it breaks, it won't be quiet. It'll be loud and chaotic and permanent. So don't settle and don't click away thinking you've got the full story because this didn't resolve anything. It revealed it, and revealed things don't fade quietly, they rot. And as long as money keeps speaking louder than caution, this situation stays unstable. And I'm not convinced the next update is about a fight at all because the Real Blast might be about accountability.